He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of Fair Gotham, and welcome to Bat Minute and Robin, the show that delivers all the speed and danger you can handle 3 days a week. We're pretty badass around here, let me tell you. Yeah, we're cool,
You keep telling yourself that, John. That's
There's nothing cooler than Batman and Robin, shut up. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And here, podcasting to hide the pain, you know. It's me, Niall McGowan.
Oh, that's really upset me.
It's a riff on a thing that's in the minute. It's fine.
I want to help
fine.
you. People reach out to Niall.
I thought that was your usual intro there. Was that new?
Yeah,
Oh.
every single time.
It's my cover of Peach's "Pod the Pain Away." I've been working on for.
Away.
Oh my God, let's do a Peaches podcast. But those other voices you can hear are our special guests. We are joined by Duncan and Curtis of Time Bandits Minute.
Hello.
Hey, we are so happy to be here. Or at least, well, I can't speak for Duncan. I'm happy to be here.
I really want to get a Weird Al Peaches cover of like Cast the Pain Away or something. I think that's a really good.
I could imagine him doing it. Weird Al is not afraid to branch out and do some unusual things.
No, but he is a PG guy. He is very much a PG
Although,
guy.
weirdly, we had just last week there, we had obviously a cameo by Coolio in the movie. And I think Coolio is one of the few artists who have complained about Weird Al doing, because he did Amish Paradise. I think
I think
recently he's been like, you know what, I was been an asshole about that. Like, it's actually like a great honor for Weird Al to cover your stuff. So,
like I think it was Chameleonaire who was like, how do you feel about Weird Al, covering your work? And he was like, about 700 million people know who I am.
Yeah.
It was like when they asked Orbital, how do you feel about reinventing Madonna's career on the Ray of Light album when you produced that? And he was like, are you serious? Is that a question you're actually asking me? Like, a whole bunch of people finally know who I am. I didn't reinvent Madonna's career. She's doing just fine.
Exactly.
Like,
This is minute 67. The minute starts with one last quick hangout, and it ends with an argument about the role of the upper classes in the new proletarian state. It's a very serious shift.
Alicia Silverstone has arrived in here with her doctrine to come in. It's like, yes, I've got my manifesto. You might want to read, Dick.
The Batgirl manifesto.
So,
hey.
I've got a question here. I didn't watch the entire film again.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Many guests have.
Several people have not.
Couldn't quite bring myself to go through the whole thing. But what was happening in minute 65? Because we get this 1 second of Alicia Silverstone hanging in midair or off the edge of a cliff.
I actually have questions about that.
Was she in the middle of an action sequence, or what happened there?
Yeah, there was a lengthy chase sequence where she took part in a street race that Dick Grayson had followed her to, and then she was set up to die, essentially.
Oh.
And then she went skidding off like a booby trap that the bad racer set up for them. And her and Dick almost like skid off a incomplete bridge, and he managed to grab her in a kind of Flying Grayson's-esque quick save.
Okay.
So he said like, oh, so this is where you hang out, and it's just her looking back up, and I'm going, ugh, because one, it's a cheesy line, and two, he's now uncovered her secret that she's like a street racer and stuff.
Yeah, and she kind of thought he was a bit lame, and it's like, oh, that guy has to save me. God damn it.
She thought he was a bit lame, and she was correct, because he is totally lame.
But Duncan, here's the deal. He says this is where you hang out, as he is barely hanging on with 1 foot off a rebar off the bridge, holding on to her with one hand as she's hanging under him, and she's just rolling her eyes at him like, oh,
Yeah.
Could you have made a worse dad joke than that?
Right. So she's pulling a total as if, like
Right.
she's doing a right.
It's
okay.
not really
And-
the time or place for any of that, is it?
Because we had 1/3 of a second of that, I think it warrants a conversation. How did they get out of that?
That is a very, very good question because
He has the strongest foot on the face of the planet. If they got out of that without help,
I think the weirdest thing is in the novelization and in the script, not only like it skips over them how they got out of that scenario, like it's like, oh, we hate to bore you with the dreary details of our miraculous escape.
oh my god!
But it also cuts back to them. She won the race. Like it cuts back to her collecting her winnings from what would have been Coolio and the Spike, the other racer. Like they're just forking over the money, and it's like, what? So was it just like, oh, you have to get to the end of this race and not die? And she almost died, but she didn't. But I guess technically, because she was the one closest to falling off to her death, that means she won?
No, the only thing I can think is that this is actually the finish line, right? This is purely speculation off the top of my head. The finish line maybe was placed just before the end of the bridge for the danger. Like you've got to stop at the finish line just before you go over the bridge and die. So she maybe made
seems
it.
like
My brain
Oh,
just
well,
melted a little bit because Joel Schumacher's rules for how to win a motorcycle race are the same in this movie as they are in Lost Boys.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. He's nothing if not consistent in Joel Schumacher.
What is that? How does he think races end? It's like Joel's never seen a race.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out the rules of the race or where the track was. There seemed to be no actual track. It was just drive wherever you
Right.
want.
You were also complaining that, like, yo, yeah, if you're just standing in the one spot, you only ever see the racers for like 3 seconds. So maybe it is just like, oh, I've never seen the end of a race. I just assume that they just stop at some point, and yeah, whoever doesn't die wins. I
You
guess.
mutually agree that it's the end.
Everybody,
Yeah, we done.
everybody in every motorcycle race just races towards a cliff,
Yeah,
and
that's how.
whoever lives wins.
this is like it's like an Annie Wilkes moment too, like in Misery, right, where she's like, last week they were in the car with the doors welded shut, and this week the car is wrecked and they're outside the car and they're okay.
Yeah.
That's cheating. That's cheating.
So someone coming into Joel Schumacher and been like, they didn't get off the cocky duty bridge, Joel.
Exactly.
Oh, and this shot
Yeah,
as well,
hobble him.
I thought... I didn't actually write this down. Just in rewatching it now in the background, the shot of her dangling there reminded me of the Joker hanging upside down.
Oh, yeah. She's just like
Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
Dick, been like, you and I are destined to do this forever.
Yeah, I could imagine. Now, I suppose really I should be saying The Dark Knight reminded me of this.
Yeah. Like a noted
There you
hack
go.
Chris Nolan coming in. Oh, that's such an original trilogy.
Well,
Everything's
we've
taken.
noticed Chris Nolan has stolen a lot from Schumacher. We've been bringing it up. He's been stealing left and right.
Yeah, it's just like she's just like, madness is a lot like gravity, Dick. All you need is a little push. But then, yeah, there's a real thing though. Like, yeah, how did they get back up? Or is it maybe Spike does have a bit of honor? He was just like, you know what? You didn't die. I'll help you out. Maybe
Kudos, yeah.
it's one of those kind of Willy Wonka scenarios where you just had to sort of endure the entire thing, and then once she gave back the gobstopper, he's like, my girl, you've won. You did it.
They literally had clothesline, neck bomb things that burned green. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, but even at that though, it's like, so she might win this money and somehow, but they never go back to these racers. It's never like, oh, by the way, Bruce, Batman, there are illegal street races where people are like, this guy actively tried to kill Barbara Wilson here. It's like, you need to go and Batman this guy's ass.
Yeah, but Batman's like, but motorcycle races are cool.
Oh, and
mean,
think
they
about
are.
this too, all of you. Okay, just to make sure that the scene is set right, he's literally dangling by his toes. The curve of his toes on his shoe is what's hanging him on this rebar with one foot. If you walk up on this, if you're just a person and you walk up and you see a guy hanging down, just by his foot and hanging onto someone else, what would you even do to get him back up? you would grab his foot and drop him. You're not lifting two people.
You know,
Tie a
I
rope
never
around
even
him, maybe?
questioned it till you brought it up. I genuinely can't answer this. I have no idea how they get out of it.
He's got gymnast powers. I mean, you watch the you watch the Olympic rock climbing events, right? And you're like, oh, well, it's always nice to see something that's plainly physically impossible happen right in front of my eyes. Okay,
That's exactly what it is. I think you're spot on.
Yeah.
Their finger and toe strength is from another dimension, and that's I think that's what we're being asked to roll
But
with.
they do somehow get out of it, and we cut back to the mansion. And Dick wants to know how long she's been racing.
Yeah.
She ain't no noob. Like, Dick, why are you assuming she's new to this?
This exposition flop, this spilling of a cake right into the script is something that it's she's like, how long you been racing? And just from 0 to 7,000 miles an hour ever since my parents died.
It's like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the speed and danger helped take me out of myself, but you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I was like, whoa, okay, hey, hold up. Holy Jesus, we just met. Like, what's going on? She's just she just goes there. I'm like, okay, that's a lot of information in 3 sentences. And with an accusatory cherry on the top.
Also, I do love her in this movie. I really do, right? But this line that you just read there, this isn't her best acting.
No. This whole scene is... I don't really think it's so much the fault of Alicia. I think it is, it's pretty bad dialogue.
It's bad dialogue, and I imagine Schumacher was like, yeah, just do one take, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's kind of I kind of felt that way too. She is not a bad actress who delivers things badly. This is her warming up. And Schumacher going, we've got a lot of explosions to film. We've only got Arnold Schwarzenegger 12 hours a day, and he has to be in the seat for 7 of it. So,
yeah, it's turgid dialogue, and you do get the impression that he was like, "Print, that's great," and she was like, "Sorry, what?"
that was me just giving it a run through. No, it's fine. Don't worry.
You were filming? There's.
It feels like the acting you get from. Again, good actress, Cheryl Lee, when she's playing Maddie in Twin Peaks. It's the way she delivers it. She says, I guess all the speed and danger helped take me out of myself. Made the pain go away. It's like, Jesus Christ, what the...
Well, it's also it's either one or the other. This is either the first take or it's take 700.
I don't care anymore.
She's just like, since my parents died, I guess all the speed takes me away from myself. Oh my God. Are we done? Yeah, okay, fine.
It's a shame because it should be quite emotional dialogue. Like, when you actually think about what she's saying, that should be a moving moment.
Elliot Goldenthal comes in with the clarinet of sadness in the background there. Make it's a very wholesome 90s family movie sound, that distinct clarinet sound. It's like, I've heard that in Free Willy and all that kind of crap. All the stuff back in the family films of the 1990s. But that's how it's an emotional scene.
When I found out I had these minutes, I immediately went to the script and started reading what we were going to be up to. And I was excited because I was like, oh, this is a part where Alicia's going to do some real acting. We're going to get an emotional beat here. It isn't just going to be, oh God, 2.5 minutes of Free shooting his gun some more. And I was excited. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this, she kind of sounds like Cindy Brady while she's doing this.
Yeah.
I've got a lisp going on and kind of,
I hate to tell you too, man, there's a lot of potential for emotional beats in this week, and pretty much all of them are lost, except one, actually.
Yeah, that's, except one, yeah.
Well, actually, Niall, did you read in the draft that we're always bringing up?
Nope.
When she collects her winnings, there's a whole extra sequence that is not even in this.
Yeah, there's a whole bit where they mentioned that. I don't know if you want to go ahead, if you looked at it, John, but yeah,
I've got all the I'm not reading the whole thing.
Yeah,
but it's basically. Well, it starts off with Barbara complaining to Dick, saying, "I could have made it, I didn't need your help." And then his response is, "Whatever you say, lady. It's all in a day's work for me." It's like, oh, God damn it, I want to slap him.
Well, we'll say, though, I kind of like that, though, in that because last time we saw Dick with Bruce Wayne, he was like, I could have made that jump. So it's similar dialogue and showing that she's a similar personality to Dick. Although, to be fair, she's much more palatable than he is.
Yeah, and she does have some good dialogue in the draft where she's complaining even more about him and saying, "Of course, Dick Grayson, ward of the fabulously wealthy Bruce Wayne. Why would you need a few $100s, from the race?" And then she says, "I guess the truth is, I'm just not comfortable with the idle rich, even when they try to act like heroes." But then Dick pats his bike seat to say, come on, get on my bike. And he's like, "Well, you better get comfortable real fast, sister, because we've only got one bike and it's a long walk home." It's like, oh no, that's a bit creepy. I don't like that.
Yeah, he's not a nice person. That goes beyond quippy and a good-natured rivalry. That's like, ugh, don't. Why are you saying that? Am I
supposed to believe she falls for this guy?
What's that? That's like that. The implication.
The implication,
right? It's get on the bike because it's a long walk home.
Nothing will happen to you if you don't get on the bike.
Nothing will happen to you.
Well, I'm not a big Batman fan. That's not the right way to say it. I don't know a lot of the Batman lore. I'm basically a Batman Begins kind of guy. That's where I start being interested in Batman. Robin, I'm under the impression has always been kind of a dark character. Except in the '60s show,
I don't know.
It's always been kind of a
Robin's come. Robin has come like over the course of the comics and the movies. Not to cut you off, but he comes in and out of darkness. There's been dark Robins and there's been light Robins. And
he's usually there as the kind of bright foil to Batman for the.
Yeah. And then because it's just there in the costumes. Like he's like this rainbow, this fruit flavor medley of yellows and oranges and greens to like Batman's shroud of darkness, and I think that's echoed in their personalities, and so he's like always been like a foil. But then in the '90s, like he had to become darker and then rebel and. Became Nightwing, and then there was several Robins, right? And like a few of them died, and then one of them became like a crime lord or something. There's all sorts of stuff
this is
that
like
went on.
Batman explaining to each new person, it's like, I think one of them became a crime lord or something. Like, I don't know. I've had a bunch of guys here, okay?
He doesn't remember.
Yeah.
And
he's like, "You're the new Robin."
It is also incredibly rude when she says, you wouldn't understand. Because you should not assume. We don't know people's journeys. Except in this case, we the viewers do know his journey, and it is very similar. But, she doesn't know. Don't assume anything.
Yeah, although, we'll say, though, actually, before we, one thing we should definitely make a note of there, John, is that in that dialogue, Dick is officially Bruce's ward. That was something we always kind of like, oh yeah, and Batman Forever, he just seems to be some guy who hangs around the house with him. Like, it never became an official thing. But now to know that, that is actually his status now. He is the ward of Bruce Wayne. So there you go. Now it is officially canon. He's not just some slouch around the house anymore. He actually has like a legal right to be there these days.
Yeah, and I do. It's like you were saying with the missed emotional beats, right? Because she's like, "You wouldn't understand," and he's like, "You'd be surprised." I'm like, "Where's the close up on his face and her double take?"
Yeah.
Of
right.
Like where's the, it's just red. It's red like a grocery list.
I've had him be emotional when he says that, like thinking about his family or something.
Yeah,
because he just learned that I have a twin spirit here. Like I have somebody who's also an orphan, who also goes to the edge, who always pushes
literally
into the
to the edge of a bridge.
Besides Batman.
Literally to the edge to try to escape the pain of being alone, and they're just like, oh, that's interesting.
I think even in the novelization, they even go to even more strange to show parallels between the two, because they have like another little additional bit where he says, like, well, what's with this 3 jump stuff? Because that's her nickname, is 3 jump. And she says, a race I got into in London. It's a long story. And he says, so who am I talking to? Miss Oxbridge or 3 jump? Who are you really? And she says, both, neither. I don't really know. And Dick says, "You'd be amazed at just how common that is around here." So again, it's setting up more parallels of like people with two identities. It's like you could argue that's in the movie because it is subtly there. It's like, well, she does have two identities, I guess, because she's going to become also Batgirl then down the line.
So she has
But-
3 identities.
Yeah, like I know she makes because obviously classically everyone knows Batman and Robin as the dynamic duo. But then when Batgirl joined in, they became the terrific trio, which isn't as good. But
No.
That
I
was
like
canon?
them as a trio,
That
but I
happened?
don't like that name.
yeah, but maybe that's why it suits her having 3 personalities now: biker girl, school girl, Batgirl. But yeah, I don't know if that's what they were going for. I think they might have just been like, yeah, she also has a two secret sides that were going on, much like everyone else in the house.
Well, you mentioned Oxbridge, her fictional unit.
Yeah.
And she got kicked. She reveals she got kicked out for being basically a known street racer. And I was thinking, I guess they could do that because it is technically illegal, isn't it? And I'm sure they would have rules about crimes and things like that. So I looked at Oxford, one of the real ones they've combined to make Oxbridge. I looked at their student disciplinary procedures. It was very, very convoluted, but they did state students are expected to act as responsible members of the university's community, including treating other members of the university and the public with courtesy and respect. And I thought, well, I suppose you could argue street racing is not treating people with courtesy and respect because it's kind of dangerous and also pretty crazy. I don't know. It's a bit of a stretch, but
it's like she was caught doing graffiti. It's like she was caught. It's not like the worst, but it's kind of like this isn't really.
Yeah. Plus,
This
if
isn't
Oxbridge
really-
is based on Oxford and Cambridge, I mean, they're snooty. They're upper class.
Well, that's what I looked up. So this is something I wasn't clear on because it's a portmanteau of Oxford and Cambridge. This Oxbridge, and it's a term. It is a term that's used to refer to the schools collectively, or specifically to just say schools of that caliber or personality traits of superior status.
Yeah.
In terms of elitist tendencies or
I'm trying to think
or
if
something.
you have a similar one. Don't you have? There's a higher echelon
We
of
call it
colleges.
the Ivy League.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, it's a bit like that.
Yeah, so you're like, you and your Ivy League talk, so you and your Oxbridge talk. I guess it would be kind of similar. But in this instance, now is Oxbridge, because you've done the research, is Oxbridge a literal fictional Gotham school?
It's a fictional school in this world, but in England. It's basically like they want to use Oxford or Cambridge, but they don't want to have to speak to them and get the rights.
But it's like Xavier's school or something. It is a thing in the comics. There is an Oxbridge in the comics. Okay. Oh yeah, and she did it did say she does say we assume that they kicked her out, but what she says is that street racing wasn't a major at Oxbridge.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it should
she might
be.
have left voluntarily.
It's 2021 now. I want it to be a major.
They've got sculling and rowing. They should have street racing.
Why not? Let's do it.
I'm kind of curious though, because maybe because I just went to a normal university. I didn't go to the elite. But
that's because we're not posh now. We're poor.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's after hours, once you were outside the classroom, they didn't care what you did as long as you weren't found out. I'm wondering if it's more like they keep tabs on the students, or if she got arrested for street racing.
I think it's a bit of both. I think Oxford and Cambridge they do expect a certain conduct from you because they are more elite. And also, she probably did get arrested. And if you're arrested, I think they're going to... Unless it's some kind of high-class crime, embezzlement.
But think about this. You get arrested for everything. You just get arrested for stuff. I mean, being in the alley, being drunk and disorderly, everything is an arrest. Everything gets you taken in and booked.
And unless you're wealthy, then you can just slip a few pounds into the police's pocket.
Yeah, she wasn't connected. I get the impression that because her parents were gone, she also wasn't connected. She didn't have, the police commissioner going, I know this girl. Keep her arrest off the books.
Although, ironically enough, though, you'd think her connection could be like, well, my uncle is Bruce Wayne's butler, but then now she has to be like, I can't tell him that I'm not street racing. So like, yeah, she's kind of done herself in with her web of deceit.
Well, plus, would anyone in England know who Bruce Wayne is, really? Like, we know some American billionaires, but we don't know them all.
I think he gives the vibe of being like a huge international name, like
a celeb.
Yeah, he's like.
But with that, but does that have as much of a cachet in the UK? Like if you're like, my uncle is Bill Gates.
I think if it was Bill Gates,
I don't care. If it was Bill Gates, it might. But if it was like, my American uncle is rich, it doesn't hold the same weight as my British uncle.
Yeah,
is rich.
I don't think it would
if you're
fly.
in Cambridge.
I do also know, like I knew an American woman who was like an au pair in London for a while. And she did get like a lot of anti-American sentiment thrown her way.
Oh yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if also might be like, oh yes, well she is the common American come over here
That's
with her leather
true.
jackets. And
Unfortunately, English people are terrible.
yeah,
I lived in Scotland for 5 years, and the gear shift when people found out I was Canadian was like palpable.
It's like, you're okay. You're one of the good ones.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh God, here we go." What? And I'm like, I'm from Vancouver. I'm from Canada." They're like, "Oh, right this way." I'm so sorry. I thought you were American.
In Bruges,
sorry, my bad.
when like Colin Farrell assaults that guy thinking he's like an obnoxious American guy, and then later on, like, you hit the Canadian. It's like a Canadian. He's just like overwhelmed with guilt. Then
I used to
yeah.
get that when I lived in Pakistan, because they would see I was white, obviously, very, very white. They would assume I was American. And when they heard I was English, there'd be a sudden shift of like, I do use special price, for this item. The price would suddenly drop.
oh wow.
Oh, but when I traveled the world, the price would suddenly drop when they found out I was American too. That might have just been a ploy.
There
is that.
There is
that.
the game. You have to play the game in Pakistan. You always, no matter what price they say, you have to go, no, too much, and start to walk away. And then they go, no, come back, sir.
Oh, you're left-handed. Oh, you get the left-handed price.
Exactly. I kind of want to jump back a little bit to something that she said here. She made her money. Well, there's a lot of things to break down. First of all, you guys are in England, yes?
Yep.
I have that right?
Unfortunately, Niall is in England. Yes.
What's the street racing scene like in England?
Well, if we were to believe Fast and Furious 6 and the opening of the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider, it is rampant in London.
Pre-Fast and Furious making it popular, though, were people like souping up their Hondas and...
They were. I've never personally seen like someone street racing, but I've seen those exact cars, with the really crappy mods put
back
on them,
in
plastic stupid thing. And I've seen people, they lower the car, but we have a lot of speed bumps here.
Yeah.
So they lower the car, and as soon as they hit one of the bumps, it's just...
Yeah, I think you'd get racing probably out in like the sticks. They probably people would do it, but they'd have to go out to somewhere like a construction site or somewhere like where there isn't actually roads.
Not just the inside of a warehouse that they're lighting to make it look like a street.
I mean, I think because I am so consumed by hate for this person. I might have mentioned it on the show prior, but there's some random teenager in our neighborhood who has a dirt bike, and it's the loudest goddamn thing in the universe, and he speeds around at all hours of the night. And I'm sure he's probably off doing some racing somewhere. But I'm constantly of the mindset of like, please God, just let him hit something, like, hit a curb or something, and go flying off that goddamn
get
bike.
injured, not too badly, just a little bit,
or badly, whichever way, really.
At this point, either way, right? Yeah.
So as long as he's not on that bike anymore.
One of the best ways to become famous in England on TikTok is to live near a speed bump and just have your ring be motion activated.
Yeah.
Something you mentioned there did surprise me, though, when she brought up that she's won everything she needs. So she must be damn good at this.
Well, this is also something, either it's one of two things, right? It's one of two things. She's either saved up enough money. She's either street racing pays hundreds of thousands of dollars per trophy, or she now has $128, and she can go to Grover's Bend to become a busker.
That's what it is, clearly. Because how much...
She needed a one-way ticket to the coast, and now she has enough money.
And she whips out the acoustic guitar, and she's like, well, anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's only 97 then, so it wasn't like hammered into the ground at that point. People were like, ooh, Wonderwall. I haven't heard that in a
That's
while.
true. That was probably still kind of fresh.
Yeah.
But so what did she want to do, though? Why? What does she mean?
This
Well,
is a baffling concept where I'm assuming she saved thousands of dollars.
She must have.
But this, the indication would be that she's like, I can now take Alfred away from Bruce Wayne until he dies, I guess. Like,
Yeah,
It
but
sounds like she's saying, I have enough to be independently wealthy and give him the lifestyle he deserves for at
Yeah.
least another couple years.
he can readjust from living in a mansion for the last 90 years of his life to living in a Motel 6 with me for as long as it takes until he pops off again.
Yeah.
it's a very teenage attitude, though. As a teenager, you would think, like, let's say she's got $5,000. You would think that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
That'll
Yeah,
disappear
it's
in
like-
seconds.
It's just like, oh.
Like the end of career opportunities,
Yes.
right? Like they've Jennifer Connelly and damn it, not John Cryer,
Frank
Wally
Whaley.
Jr. Frank Whaley Jr. Yeah, they've embezzled something like $100,000 or something, and then the last shot is them in California somewhere in lawn chairs at a 4-star hotel, drinking champagne, going, "This is the life. We've made it." And every adult is like, 6 months from now, you're not going to have any money.
Oh,
It isn't gonna
Right?
take
And
6
so
months.
my headcanon is always that what was the Jennifer Connelly movie about getting addicted?
Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah,
That's
my
You're really fixated
headcanon
on
is that
Jennifer Connelly for some reason in this.
my headcanon is that Requiem for a Dream is the sequel to Career Opportunities.
Oh.
I love it. We're going with it.
And that she ditches Frank Wally Jr. and hooks up with Jared Leto, and then the rest unfolds as it is. Changes her name, hooks up with Jared Leto, and then
And there you go.
goes down a dark path.
Everything's connected because, of course, Jared Leto is everybody's favorite Joker, right?
Yeah. So then he becomes the Joker. She leaves him, goes off and hooks up with Bruce Banner.
There you
And
go.
there you go. It's all connected.
And here we are.
As you hinted at, well, you did kind of say it, but let's get a little bit more in depth with this. Her plan is that, Alfred supported her for her entire life. Maybe because she's his secret love child, as we've talked about.
Well, that is the thing, too, because it's like, she said, her parents only died quite recently, but Alfred's been supporting her entire life. It's like...
We can't. Me and Curtis both just did a hubba what?
Well, How do we sort of do this quickly now? How do we explain
It's
this?
a very
love child?
convoluted thing. In the finished movie...
It's okay. If he's been taking care of her for her entire life, and the inference is that she's a secret love child, I understand. You don't need to waste.
It's
valuable
basically
minutes.
it's entirely because in the finished movie it's just very simple. Like, she is his niece and that's it. But in the
and he's
original,
got a picture of her mum in his room,
and
framed.
it's supposed to be indicated, I guess that's his sister. But in the original draft of the script and in the novelization and stuff, it's like, no, that woman in that picture frame was an old lover of Alfred who
Oh
he
my
left because he was
gosh.
too old. And now it's always like, oh yeah,
Ooh.
Barbara is Margaret Clark's daughter. And so you're like, is it Alfred's daughter? Is that why he's so close with her? Like, it's...
I hope so. Oh God, I hope so.
But so now it's time to repay the favor, isn't it? She's going to take him away from this life of servitude. But you know what? I think she's right, because this Bruce, as we've talked about the whole series, so not just Clooney, he has been really horrible to him. Making him do the Christmas decorations on his own, clean this whole mansion on his own. He's an old man.
I also like the idea, too, that, like... Because how else would Barbara know about this dismal servitude unless Alfred is, like, talking out of school?
He's vague posting on Facebook.
Yeah, he's always just out going, oh, this rich asshole Bruce Wayne, Master Bruce, thorn in my side. So Barbara's accumulating all this information, and Alfred in the movies is like, no, everything's perfectly fine here, so I don't think I'm any problem.
Yeah, he's got a website. I guess I'll do it. Psy.com. Right?
Yeah. I love
guess
it.
I'll do it. A-L.
I think it's great, though. She's a woman of the people. Comrade Barbara, here to break the chains of oppression. She doesn't like the whole master-servant thing. She says it's ridiculous. And I'm just sitting here going, yes, rise up, free the common man.
It is a very university student attitude to have as well. She is, you imagine her come in with a little beret and like the army jacket and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, this is like dueling dueling naivete, right? Like, I really wish they would have leaned harder into it, because she thinks she has enough money to give Alfred the lifestyle he's accustomed to.
She definitely does.
And she thinks, in the midst of that, like with that in her mind, she thinks that she's like, yeah, workers rise up, free the proletariat. And then, Chris comes in with, what do you mean? He loves tidying up after me.
He thinks it's great picking up my underwear.
He has a great time washing my dishes. And so, like, the two of them are both like, wow, you guys are a couple of kids, aren't you? You really are.
Although
I
think I had to write after her dialogue of like, oh, you think it's family to go around cleaning up after someone else and, doing their dishes and stuff. And I was like, yeah, your family does that for free,
Does Alfred get a wage, or is it kind of just like help yourself to whatever? Yeah.
I think it's he must get a paid. I was always more weirded out by it in the Nolan trilogy, because when Bruce Wayne is gone, Alfred's going on about like, I used to go on holiday and all this stuff, and he's like, were you still getting a paycheck from the Wayne Foundation or whatever to like keep this giant empty mansion the whole time? Like, that's a really bizarre.
I kind of think of myself, if I was Wayne Enterprises rich, if I was Bruce Wayne rich, I feel like the help would just have my credit card.
Yeah.
And
help yourself to whatever.
And it would just be
want.
like, take care of yourself, whatever you need.
Yeah,
that's how I see it. I don't think he actually gets money coming in. He doesn't have to pay taxes or anything. He's tax free.
think it's got like a room and board and a big expense account.
Well, I think that's why, they do point out in the script the idea that she tries to pay off the motorbike that she's wrecked because she stole that motorbike from Bruce Wayne, and Dick kind of dismisses it because it is very much like Bruce is never going to notice that motorbike's gone. Alfred could go out and buy a Lamborghini, and Bruce wouldn't notice because he's like, I don't look at my finances. I just know that money's there.
I'm with her, right? It's the principle of the thing.
Yeah.
She broke it, so she wants to make it right regardless. And I respect that. I like it.
No, it's very admirable. But I do think that, like, at the after, I can imagine, like, months down the line when she is fully fledged Batgirl, Dick Grayson might come out with, like, oh, yeah, that night we went out street racing. And Bruce would be like, excuse me, what? like, what happened to my bike? Why didn't anyone invite me to a street race? Like, oh, you're not cool enough, man. Like, I'm George Clooney. Man. I'm not cool enough. And they're like, you could have been banging Elle McPherson, but you're hanging out with an old man every night, man. What's your problem?
They sure could have used Batman at the end of that race, though.
Yeah.
Covering up in a bat plane or something to catch him.
Well, that would be the classic scenario, would be the old grappling hook. But then she doesn't know that...
I think he was watching. In my headcanon, he was watching to see what Dick would do.
Yeah, I assume Batman knows all. Because as we've seen in the comics, Batman always has a plan to take down his friends. Yeah. He's always got a scheme. Right. If Superman turns evil, Batman's already prepared. So I think it's kind of the same. It's like he's watching everyone.
He never has a plan to take down his enemies, but he has a plan to take down all his friends at any given moment.
It's like, oh, Superman's turned evil. Don't worry, I'm way ahead of you.
I think that the thing, though, watching too much of the Batman animated series, too, is like, you're looking at that scenario of them dangling off that bridge, and it's like, I can't see any other way out of this but the grappling hook, because they use that grappling hook for everything in that show.
We could have had Batman, we could speculate Batman saved them. She doesn't have to know it's Bruce.
I feel like that would be a massive missed opportunity, though, to have, like, again, someone who's not a fan of the idle rich, particularly when they're pretending to be heroes, Barbara Wilson, to actually meet Batman before she knows it's Bruce Wayne. That would be like a fascinating scene to see. Because would she be like, oh, this Batman, oh yeah, he's a man of the people. Like, he knows what's going on. Like, I like him. Or would she be he's clearly some rich asshole in a friggin' mechanized rubber suit running around the place. Like, with that giant car. He's the problem as well. But... he's enabling. She'd be the type of like, well, how bad was Gotham? How much more weirder has Gotham got since Batman showed up and stuff? Like,
yeah.
Now I kind of do want there to be a subplot about what is Barbara Wilson's actual attitude towards Batman as a concept, but tragically never explored in this movie.
Be interesting to know. But her going on about masters and servants is in the back of my mind. I'm just singing that song. Master and Servant. Who is it who does that?
Master and Servant. That's Depeche
Depeche
Mode.
Mode. That's it. Yes, Master and Servant.
Classic track.
Yeah.
Classic track.
I was thinking Les Mis or something like that. Master of the house.
Let's play Master and Servant.
Can somebody please
Great.
splice together a remix where it's Master and Servant and Master of the House mixed?
Do you think also that I would totally believe that, like, yes, the couple of thousand she saved up is very much like this. Yeah, we can live on this for a while, and Alfred can hang out in a Hawaiian shirt in a crappy motel with me until he dies. But like, also is would she be maybe even going to Bruce Wayne and going like, what's his contract? Here's like a 10 grand. Is that enough to buy him out of the dismal servitude? That maybe she thinks like, oh, he would only be here. He's only here because of contractual obligation to this man.
Having enough money though to give him the lifestyle he deserves. So it's been reminding me of one time my brother and I took my dad out for a Father's Day lunch with the money that he had just given us for our allowance.
Oh, that's kind of cute.
Like
though.
we were like, 8 or we were like, I don't know, 7 and 5 or something. And we're like, we'll take you out. And he's like, oh, okay. So he drove us to the restaurant where we were going to buy him lunch with the money he'd just given us. And then the bill was something like, $18 and we had $10 between us.
Oh, wow.
And so
It's the
he just
thought.
he had the best time. He said it was one of the best times of his life watching us get the bill, panic in silence and like confer and try to figure out what we were gonna do. He said it was like the best TV.
Parents are evil. They love stuff
was
like
like
that.
possible. Like, oh my gosh! And then of course he let us off the hook, but it was just magic.
Parents are nasty. My dad's always like that. Like, he always complains that to this day I never buy him a drink when we go to the pub. It's because he won't let me. Every time I go up to the bar, he's like, no, leave it to me. But then he can hold it over me, you see.
Classic, classic.
But yeah, so we do get you talk about Alicia's performance here, and that line about dismal servitude. I don't think anybody could deliver that with like a straight face. Like, that is a real. It sounds as if she's taking the piss by saying this life of dismal servitude. Like, it doesn't sound like anything that anyone in the real world would ever say ever.
Not in this day and age, certainly. Maybe like
No.
way in the past.
It's a bit poetic. It's a little poetic. She reminds me of someone there when she's like, when she delivers that. It's either Katie Holmes or
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
who's the don't be a dick guy? Will Wheaton. He's kind of got a Will Wheaton, dismal servitude. It's just something the way her mouth moves around there that's very, just reminds me of some famous teenagers in film, the dismal servitude.
That's the same thing. That's hitting me the same way, Duncan.
Yeah.
Katie Holmes,
Yeah, that's
Will Wheaton,
something.
and the girl who plays Cindy Brady.
Ah.
Yeah.
They've all got that kind of like tucking their chin in and being all and kind of
Yeah, the mouth,
moves
kind of
weird.
a little
Yeah.
over animated on the mouth and mouth off to one side and dismal servitude. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Oh. I will say, though, I can imagine in talking about his dismal servitude, Alfred probably not going to be too happy that they're most likely trekking in a load of mud and these big scuffed boots into his nice clean hallway, just stomping around as if that's...
Well, what's the floor there? Is that linoleum?
I think it's going to be full on, like, proper nice marble. Like, it seems like it's a really...
Or oak or something? Because this should not be a garage. That should be just like cement. This is a motorcycle garage, and it's just got like a fancy floor.
Well, I think it's
Like,
partially because it's Bruce Wayne's collection of cars, so I think it's mostly there to be like, it's the fancy showroom, and you can take out the cars, but you probably shouldn't because they've been polished within an inch of their life.
Well, don't keep any petrol, let's say gas for our Americans, in the cars and the bikes. Don't do it.
Yeah.
For one thing, we're getting a little bit we're getting talk of family and whatnot in this minute, and we've not really gone in yet to while we have the origins of Barbara Wilson sort of expounded upon here. We have the outright origins of Alicia Silverstone. We've kind of dodged around like a couple little bits of her past prior to this movie. But
do you want to save that for the next minute, or do you want to get into it now? Because my notes for the next minute are a little sparse, but I've got lots on Alicia Silverstone.
we can save it for the next minute if you want. Yeah,
we are getting long on this one.
Yeah. Let's do it then.
So,
Okay.
In that case, we will head off into the dark, dark night. Would our wonderful guests like to say where they can be found online and promote their work? I assume you'd probably just do it together, unless you want to promote separate things. I don't know.
We are going for launch here on the Time Bandits Minute in November. November 14 or 4, I can't remember. 14, which is a Saturday. We're launching in mid-November on the Time Bandits Minute.
I love it.
Which is the 40th anniversary?
The 40th anniversary of the American release, yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I remember I recorded you guys. I think it was like one of the first couple of minutes of the movie. So it was like,
that's
was
right.
It like 5 years ago we did that? Is that show still not out yet? Jeez Louise.
Oh, time. These last 2 years have been a decade long.
Yeah, a lot's been happening for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
But do check it out, everybody. And as usual, come and speak to us on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, Twitter at Bat Minute, Instagram, The Bat Minute. And what else should I go with this time? The website. That's thebatminute.com. And there's nothing on there but the episodes because we're lazy. But you can check the episodes out there if you don't want to download them to a podcatcher. And we will see you again on Wednesday, listeners, for more wonderful Bat Minute and Robin action. See you then.
Next time, down with the sickness. Boo, sickness. Babs berates an oblivious bougie bro and announces information that Bruce already seems to know. But as the dynamic duo discuss a diagnosis and Dick is dealt a devastating blow, what arts and crafts are occurring in Arkham within the cell of this sinister Sultan of Snow? We respond to a prognosis that's in the most resoundingly negative on Wednesday, Bat fans. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.
We'll be back.
back.